Our next topic is to evaluate the ethics, and first of all we will going to evaluate ethical normative theories in this lecture. In evaluating ethics, so let's evaluate the ethics, and first of all we are going to evaluate the normative theories. Normative theories, ethical theories are the rules and the principles that determine right and wrong for a given situation. So basically these normative ethical theories will help us to decide that in a particular situation what is right and what is wrong. Basically it is showing us a roadmap or rules, set of rules and principles. Uh, In locating a place for ethical theories, Richard D. George suggests that two extreme positions can be imagined. So we want, when we check the role of a ethical theory in ethics, so there are two extreme positions we can take. One is ethical absolutism and the other one is ethical relativism. So what these are, uh, absolutism is there are internal universally applicable moral principles, then right and wrongs are objectives, qualities that can be rationally determined. So uh, absolutism, like its name shows, that it is the exact rules and regulations which we can apply anywhere, every time. Eternally mean uh, for all the time, and universally mean all at everywhere. And right or wrongs are objective. It's not subjective, it's objective qualities which are absolute and can be rationally determined. So, and they rationally can be determined in at any time and anywhere. So the second one is relativism. Relativism means like it is relatively, it is the morality is context dependent and subjective. So it is depend upon the situation, and subjective is not very objective. So it could be changed. So right and wrong depends on the person taking the decision and the culture in which they are located, and morality is culturally determined. So absolutism is uh, morality which is principled and principally dependent, I mean principally determined, and while the relativism is like its name shows, is relative with the situation and relative with the time and relative with the person who's making decision and where you are making the decision. So this is the main difference between absolutism and the relativism. But as we know, both of these positions are not particularly useful. Therefore, we take the position of ethical pluralism. That is something that is middle between the absolutism and the relativism. So instead of taking these extreme positions of uh, absolutism and relativism, we take a position which has more than one uh, options. For this reason it's called pluralism. So pluralism accepts different moral convictions and backgrounds, while at the same time suggesting that a consensus on the basic principle and rules in a certain social context can and should be reached. So after setting the rules and regulation for every uh, society, or for every in every social context, we uh, can be taken more than one position, or we can accept the different moral conviction. So it is kind of a basic, it is kind of like middle point between not middle point but middle positions between absolutism and relativism. We already know about morality before even try to introduce the ethical theory into it. As we know, morality is consists of the principles concerning the distinctive or distinguish between the right and wrong or good or bad behavior. morality is a kind of foremost a social phenomena. Uh, we apply morality because we constantly have to establish the rules and the arrangement of our living together as a social being. So we are applying this morality rules, principles to establish rules and arrangement uh, while we are living together. So what is right and what is wrong in our social living? So morality is primarily about harm and benefit. Right and wrong are already about avoiding harm and providing benefits. So morality is basically is to provide benefit to society and save it from the harm. So as we know, right thing is beneficial and wrong thing is harmful. Therefore, narrowly and rigidly applying one theory and threatening the theory as the only authority in questions of right and wrong would give ethical theory a status that will never actually have any practical decisions. So we have to set the rules and regulations, but theory is not like the only thing we consider to do the practical decisions. Otherwise it will be not applicable or become very narrow and rigid. So now let's start discussing the different normative ethical theories. So uh, first of all, it is the consequentialist theory based on the moral judgment on the outcome of a certain action. So, like like its name shows, is a consequentialist theory mean what will be the consequences of the any action we do. So while doing any action, we think that what will be the result of our uh, action. So if their outcomes are desirable, then the action in question is morally right. So if the outcome will be right, then we will say this action is right. So our actions rightness or wrongness is depending upon its result. So the moral judgment is based on the outcomes, the aims or the goals of a certain action, and are also called theological goal or outcome based theories. So consequential theories are also called theological theories, which mean is the goal or outcome oriented. The next one is the non-consequentialist theories based on the underlying principles of the decision maker's motivation. So this is not based on the outcome, it is based on the who is the making the decision makers. So an action is right or wrong because the underlying principles are morally right, are also called deontological or duty or action based. So the first one is a goal based and the second one is the duty. So what is your duty? It is a motivation or the intention or the of the decision maker. So basically two difference is one is on outcome based and what the other one is based on the principles of right and the wrong. So it is based on the duty, what is my duty to do actually. It is, let's see in the next part how we define these theories. uh, Consequentialist theories are number one is the egoism, an ethical theory that treats self-interest as the foundation of morality. So like it word shows is egoism mean any we will do the decision which will help us, self will take care of our interest is the base of this morality is called egoism. So the next one is the utilitarianism, is the as it says word from utility. So an action is morally right if it result in the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people affected by the action. So here we if majority of the people is benefiting from it, so our action is right. The first one is if we are benefiting from this decision, it is morally right. If the second one is if the majority of people in the group to whom this action regarding that who are involved in this action or who are the objective of this actions are benefiting, then decision is right. Let's see what egoism is. Basically, an action is morally right if the decision makers freely decide in order to pursue either their short-term desire or their long-term interest. So this theory focuses on the outcome for the decision maker. So it is like it shows it is only is the consequence is in the favor of the decision maker. So you are right. Your decision is right. Anything you do which favor you uh, morally, it is right according to this theory. So they have some issue with this egoism theory, as a man has only limited insight into the consequences of this action. The only suitable strategy to achieve a good life is to pursue his own desire or interest. So, due to our limited insight or limited knowledge of future, so what we will do the things which suits us, our fulfill our desire and our interests. The theory approaches the idea of objective value. One way of acting is objectively better than more ethically than another. So it is better to pursue one objective instead of more than one. So we will focus on our own interest. One limitation of the egoism theory: this theory is based on a perfect market, but there never be a perfect market. So in this mean, if it is helping us, it might be helping other if it is a perfect market, but usually it is not a perfect market. So for example, the sustainability in the sustainability debate, the victims of today's global climate change are future generations which are not yet present to take part in any kind of market. So it's mean that some people are even not there, so why should we take consider the interest of those people? So basically, when we are not going for the sustainability, we are saying this is because the the its consequences, the the whom we are giving the benefit is not even here. So we do the things which are benefiting us right now, not for the future. The next theory on consequential theories is utilitarianism. So it is an action which is morally right if it results in the greater amount of goods, the good for the greatest amount of people affected by the action. The theory focuses on wider social outcomes within a community. The greatest happiness principle, as it is also called, focuses on the consequences of an action, weighs the good result against the bad results, and finally encourages the action that results in greatest amount of goods for the people involved. The action with the highest aggregate utility, the value of the action can be determined by the morally correct. Unlike egoism, it does not only look at each individual involved and ask whether their individual desires and interests are met, but it focuses on the collective welfare that is produced by a certain decisions. It comes close to a cost benefit analysis. So basically, utilitarianism theory is where action is supposed thought to be morally correct if it has more benefits for a larger segment of the community, and they have uh, less harms as compared to the benefit. So basically, it is a if is a cost in the cost benefit analysis, if it has more benefit for the more people, it is thought to be the correct action or the correct policy or morally correct. So it for this reason it is coming from the utilitarianism. If it is a useful for the mostly people and they have more benefit, then it will be thought to be the correct policy or correct action morally. Uh, there are some issues with the utilitarian theory subjectivity. The first one, the feelings of pleasure and the pains, for instance, might depend on the subjective perspective of the person who carries out the analysis. So it is the feelings of pains and pleasure is depending on the person who is doing the analysis, and that may be not very right. Then it is the next problem is the quantification of the pain and the pleasure. So like we have talked about the cost benefit analysis. So for cost benefit analysis we have to convert benefits into in a figurative or in a quantitative way. So maybe it is not very uh, very quantifiable things. So there's another issue with this theory. Then distribution of utility. So by assessing the greatest goods for the greatest number, the interest of the minorities are overlooked. So maybe we are giving more focus on the majority thing people and just ignoring the minorities people's interest in this theory. Another issue with the utilitarianism is that problem of subjectivity lead to the refinement of the theory. So uh, uh, so we have to divide this utilitarian theory into two things. One is like act utilitarianism looks to single action and bases the moral judgment on the amount of pleasure and the amount of pain this single action causes. So we will see how the act is converted into the action. So then what is the consequences of your act. Then rule utilitarianism is look at the classes of the action and ask whether the underlying principle of an action produce more pleasure than pain for the society in the long run. So we will see that how the rule of utilitarianism is that it should be underlying principle should be that it should be having a more pleasure for the more people in the long run. It shouldn't be the for the short run. After discussing the consequentialist theories, let's now discuss the non-consequentialist theories. So, number one is ethics of duties, state that we are morally obligated to act in accordance with a certain set of principles and rules regardless of the outcome. The number two is the ethics of right and justice. The ethics of justice deals with the moral choice through a measure of rights of people involved and that chooses the solution that seems to be damage the fewest people. Rooted in a respect of legal system, it is applied in the Western democracy ideas like social contract theory to everyday more moral decision. So let's discuss these in detail in the next slides. So let's start with the ethics of the duties. So ethical theory that consists of abstract, unchangeable and obligation defined by set of rationally deduced a priori of moral rules which should be applied to all relevant ethical problems. So basically it is not very well defined unchangeable obligations, and it is be defined by a set of rationally deduced um, rationally deductive moral rules which should be applied to all relevant ethical problems. In simple words, these are the pre-decided rules and regulations which couldn't be changed, and it is rationally defined rules and regulations which we apply in all the ethical problems. According to the Kant, it is a psychologist or social researcher. Morality is a question is internal, abstract and unchangeable principles. So he's saying that the morality is the question of morality never change. It is always live same, and it is not abstract. Abstract means is not very well written or very well in detail. So written. So a set of priori moral laws. So priori mean before, which are already decided that humans should apply to all ethical problems. So we should apply all these to our ethical issues or problem. He saw the human as a rational actors who could decide these principles for themselves. So he is giving all the burdens on human beings. So and he thinks that human beings are rational and their actions are always based on rationality. Kant develop a theoretical framework for these principles. These categorical imperative, it consists of three parts. So Kant has developed three basic principles or three basic rules upon which all these his ethical duties are based upon. So let's uh, let's see what these three principles are. These three parts of ethics of duties are consistency, human dignity, and universality. So all these our duties should be based upon, or they should be tested against these three criterion. One is that it should be consistent, that it checks if the action could be performed by everyone. An action can only be right if everyone could follow the same underlying principles. Golden rule is that treat other as you want to be treated yourself. For example, murder or lying is immoral because it is impossible to allow everyone to murder everyone they want. So we if you want to do something, you cannot do it unless it is consistent, and killing someone or lying is not morally correct in any condition. So then human dignity is we when we are applying this ethics, or we are doing some action, we have to consider and give the weight to the human dignity. Act so that you treat humanity, whether it is in your own person or that of the another, always as an end, never as a means only. So humans deserve respect as autonomous, rational actors, and this human dignity should never be ignored. So while we are acting in a ethical way, we should never ignore the human dignity. And then universality, like its word shows, it should be universal everywhere. The rules should be applied everywhere and anywhere. So the rules guiding our actions should also be universally law giving. It checks if the principles of our action would be acceptable for every human beings. This test is also called the New York Times test, because if you feel uncomfortable that your actions were reported in the press, it means that you believe others disagree with the rules guiding your action. So if someone is unhappy with the thing, so it means it is not universally accepted. The theory, ethics of duty theory, have also some issues like undervaluing outcomes. So there is a too little consideration of outcome of this action in the ethics of duty. So we are not giving much consideration to outcome of this theory. So then complexity, it is quite complicated to apply. So fulfilling all the requirement, all the framework which we have discussed previously, it is real hard to apply this theory in to solve any ethical issue. Then the next is optimism or idealism. Basically the view of a man as a rational actor who consequently, according to its self-imposed duty, seem more like an ideal than a reality. So this theory can be is very idealistic, so it is real hard to apply. The next theory is the ethics of right and justice. So but the right part is that the notion of human rights, certain basic, important, undeniable or undeniable and entitlements that should be respected and protected in every single action to human beings without exception. So while we are doing the justice, we should keep the rights of every human being or everyone in in the consideration. So without considering the human rights, you cannot do the justice. So justice and rights go hand in hand. Example of these rights are the rights of to life, freedom, and the property. So you cannot deny someone his life, right to live, or right to be free, or right to have the property when you are doing any ethical action. Ethics of rights and justice continue. So what is depend on that is the way the procedure should be fair. When you are doing any justice, the fairness is determined according to the whether everyone has free to acquire reward for his or her efforts is also called procedural justice. It is very important that when we are doing the justice, all the procedural things should be done according to the law, and they should be justifiable. Even in some time, you know that some people has done wrong, but you cannot get the evidence, and you cannot proceed that action against him because you don't have the evidence. And if you take evidence wrongfully, it will be not accepted in the front of eyes of the justice. So fair outcome. Fairness is determined according to whether the consequences, positive or negative, are distributed in just manner according to some underlying principles such as the need or merit, and also called distributive justice. So justice should be done for everyone. It is not just for the few of that. So it should be according to some principle. It should be depend on the need or the merit. So it's called distributive justice. There are two extreme positions in justice debate. Uh, is called egalitarian approach claims that justice is the same as the equality. Non-egalitarian approaches claim that justice is economic system is ultimately a product of the fair process of a free market. So let's discuss what is the fair and equality is. So this picture is clearly, differentiating between equal and the fair. So equal is mean you are giving everyone equal share, and fairness is mean you give the share according to its need, or according to its merit. So this is the differentiation you can see easily from this picture. So there are few other alternative perspective on the ethical issue, on ethical theories, which we'll be going to discuss in this segment. So ethical approach based on the character and integrity, based on relationship and responsibility, based on procedures and norm generation, and based on empathy and moral impulse. So these are like some other views or angles which we used while we are solving the ethical issues. Okay, the first one is ethical approach based on the character and integrity, which is called virtue ethics, and it looks into the character or integrity of the decision maker. This series based on one of the earliest ethical theories. It is also called virtue ethics. Morally correct actions are those undertaken by the actor, which virtuous character, good action, and come from the good person. The formation of a virtuous character is therefore the first step toward morally correct behavior. Virtues are a set of acquired traits of character that enable a person to lead a good life. So central to the ethics of virtue is the notion of a good life. So basically in this approach we see the who's making the decisions, who's taking the actions. So if his or her character is right, and integrity is good, high, and virtue is virtuous, that it means that his or her decisions are correct. The next one is the ethical approach based on the relationship and responsibility. And this theory does not focus on the character but on the relationship. So we consider relationship more, and our responsibility toward that to whom we are doing the decision. So usually is also called a feminist ethics approach, an approach that prioritizes empathy, harmoniousness, and healthy social relationship, care for one another, and avoidance of harm above the abstract moral principles. So it is beyond and above the that abstract moral principles. So we consider more in this our relationship and responsibility. This approach sees the individual deeply embedded in a network of interpersonal relations. Consequently, people will feel responsibility for the member of this network. While you are doing the decision about a network of your people, so you consider the relationship and also responsibility about them. So rather than applying principles and rules, one should learn and develop the from the experience in the past. So we consider more about our past relationship with them, and we be more responsible toward when we are making that decisions. So next is the feminist ethics. The main goal in this theory is to avoid harm and maintain healthy relationship. Following are the key element of a feminist approach. We consider the relationship, we consider the responsibility, and we also consider our the experience, which we have discussed in the previous approach. So this is in responsibility prospect would suggest that the ethical decisions making ask for an active taking of the responsibility of that your decisions are about the people whom you are making, for whom you are making the decisions. Experience feminist prospect highlight the fact that the decision making human beings are intricately determined by the past experience. So we also consider the past experience when we are doing the ethical decision. Okay, the third one is the approach is the procedure and the norm generations. So this approaches above, start from a certain prospect on the human, on the values or the goals governing their decisions, so etc. But we cannot take this for granted that everybody shares the same value as the goal. It is this point that theoretical approaches based on norms generating might come into the picture. So we cannot do all the decisions on our goal and about our principles and the rules. So here we create some normal, what is the normal things, what is the what should be happen. It's not like a what according to rules and regulation how we do that, but how should we solve this problem, so everyone should have like satisfied from our relationship, I'm sorry, from our decisions. So these approaches seek ethical behavior, not applying ethical principle. So uh, but in generating norms that are appropriate and acceptable to those who need to resolve a particular problem, like arbitration. So in arbitration, we don't go according to rules and regulation, but we take the things from the both party and then decide about what is the best for them and what is appropriate for them. The best approach of norm generation is discourse ethics. This aims to solve ethical conflict by providing a process of norm generation through rational reflection on the real life experience of all relevant participants. So we do what is the in the reality, is not, we are not going according to the books and rules and regulation, but we go according to the what is the real life is saying to do us to solve that issue. Okay. The last one is the ethical issues, ethical approaches based on empathy and moral impulse. So what is empathy? Empathy is that when we are doing solving some ethical issue about something, so we consider ourselves in their place. So we should be more putting our our feet in their shoes. And in moral impulse, what is our emotional and inner conviction about that. So it's like a gut feeling about what is right and what is wrong. So it's not just going on hard rules facts, we just put some empathy. So ethical behavior is the duality of human nature. So our ethical behavior is like we behave with two things. We have intellectuality and as well as sensibility, and at the same time motivated by our impulse means what is our sudden, what is our inner things, what we feel when we see something, or when we analyze something. Right away we find out that this is it. So impulse means the quick. uh, they must be guided by the rules of conduct to balance these two. So we have to balance our sense and our intellectuality. Sometimes we are more like intelligently we are doing decisions, and we are feeling the sensibility of that, we are ignoring the sense. So morality lies beyond this sphere of rationality in an emotional moral impulse toward others. So it encourages one to question everyday's practices and rules, and to listen to the one's emotions, inner conviction, and gut feelings about what is right and what is wrong. It questions the link between the morality and the rationality. So we go more on rational thing than the just the morality. So this was the end of our chapter. We talk about the consequential and non-consequential, then we talk about the other approaches to the moral behavior. So if you have any question, please let me know. I know this is this is the most two chapters, it's difficult in this subject. So please feel free to ask me any question, and we go through on those in the class and as well as the next class. Thank you for your time and listening.